a law. Again, that's climate change from the left. And the right will say, well, the way to go about this, Arizona state senator says, make Sunday church attendance mandatory. Now, notice the date on the screen when this was published. The year, she said this. That was March 27th, 2015. This was published. Now, we've covered this article before several times in the past, even during the year 2015 when it came out. What caught my attention with this article, with this headline this time around, is the data. It's the data. What was also published during that year? What events transpired during that same year? Well, let me remind you of some other events. 2015. That was the same year the Pope, as a matter of fact, about a month or so later, after this article was published, the Pope published the first Laudato Si encyclical. It was that same year. In December of 2015, the head of states from many nations came together in Paris, France, to sign what was called the Paris Climate Agreement. And they signed that, which was modeled after Laudato Si. And Laudato Si calls for Sunday sacredness. As next slide on the screen, we read, the Pope says once again in point 237, on Sunday, our participation in the Eucharist has special importance. Sunday, like the Jewish Sabbath, is meant to be a day which heals our relationship with God, ourselves, with others, and with the world. And let's keep on down to the last point. He said, it, Sunday, also proclaims men's eternal rest in God. The law of weekly rest forbade work on the seventh day. This what was the Pope, what the Pope, eternal rest in selves with others, and on Sunday our participation in the Eucharist has special importance. Sunday, like the Jewish Sabbath, is meant to be a day which heals our relationship with God, ourselves, with others, and with the world. And let's keep on down to the last point. He said, it, Sunday, also proclaims men's eternal rest in God. The law of weekly rest forbade work on the seventh day. This what was the Pope, what the Pope called for to combat climate change. While the left said we need to take the nation back to God by observing the Sabbath. The right said that, and the left said we need to observe Sunday to combat climate change, to save the planet from climate change. But it is the same goal. It was also that same year that the Pope went to the United States of America, and for the first time ever in history, a Pope stood up before Congress and spoke. And what was his message? His message was to enforce the common good. Next on the screen, this is what the Pope says before Congress. He said, your own responsibility as members of Congress is to enable this country, the United States of America, by your what? Legislative activity to grow as a nation. You are the face of its people, their representatives. You are called to defend, and what else? To preserve the dignity of your fellow citizens, notice carefully, in the tireless and demanding pursuit of what? Of the common good, for this is the chief aim of all politics. Before Congress, that same year, just like the left was, or the right rather, was calling for Sunday sacredness to combat crimes and immoralities, the Pope stood before Congress and said, we need to enforce the common good, to combat climate change, to stop the wars, and all of those other social issues. That was the year 2015. And just so we don't misunderstand or take what the Pope says out of context, let's ask the question, what is the common good? Well, from, next slide on the screen, from the Catholic Catechism, they said in point 2188, in respect protecting religious liberty and the common good of all, Christians should do what? Should seek recognition of what? Sundays and the church's holy days, quote unquote, holy days, as legal holidays. There you have it. The common good is to seek the recognition of Sundays. And even in the encyclical Laudato Si, the Pope made that clear. The common good is the recognition of Sunday. So once again, you have the right, you have the left, working, it seems, on the surface against each other, but they are aiming for the same goal, just like the saying says, all roads lead to Rome. All roads lead to the Sunday law crisis. Notice what Spirit of Prophecy tells us here on the screen. Review and Herald, December 18th, 1888. A time is coming when the law of God is, in a special sense, to be made void in our land. The rulers of our nation will, by legislative enactments, enforce the Sunday law, and thus God's people be brought into great peril when our nation in its legislative councils shall enact laws. Notice again, they shall enact laws. One more time, let's pause to understand. As I stated before, as Spirit of Prophecy tells us, as the Bible tells us, there will be Sunday laws first before the signing of Sunday law, singular, which will be the mark of the beast. Have we been experiencing those enactments? Yes, we have been experiencing the Sunday laws. And you see, the left position is to enact, is to pass, is to enforce those Sunday laws. The right, on the other hand, their job is to pass the singular Sunday law. They will capitalize, they will use the left Sunday laws as the foundation to enforce the Sunday law, which is the mark of the beast. Let's continue. It goes on to nation back to God. Notice on the screen with me from Newsmax, Arizona state senator says, make Sunday church attendance mandatory. Now notice the date on the screen when this was published, the year she said this. That was March 27th, 2015. This was published. Now, we've covered this article before several times in the past, even during the year. Made that clear. The common good is the recognition of Sunday. So once again, you have the right, you have the left, working, it seems, on the surface against each other, but they are aiming for the same goal, just like the saying says, all roads lead to Rome. All roads lead to the Sunday law crisis. Notice what Spirit of Prophecy tells us here on the screen. Review and Herald, December 18th, 1888. A time is coming when the law of God is, in a special sense, to be made void in our land. The rulers of our nation will, by legislative enactments, enforce the Sunday law, and thus God's people be brought into great peril when our nation in its legislative councils shall enact laws. Notice again, they shall enact laws. One more time, let's pause to understand. As I stated before, as Spirit of Prophecy tells us, as the Bible tells us, there will be Sunday laws first before the signing of Sunday law, singular, which will be the mark of the beast. Have we been experiencing those enactments? Yes, we have been experiencing the Sunday laws. And you see, the left position is to enact, is to pass, is to enforce those Sunday laws. The right, on the other hand, their job is to pass the singular Sunday law. They will capitalize, they will use the left Sunday laws as the foundation to enforce the Sunday law, which is the mark of the beast. Let's continue. It goes on to say again, when our nation in its legislative councils shall enact laws to bind the consciences of men in regard to their religious privileges, enforcing Sunday observance. You see the distinction there? They enact laws to enforce Sunday observance and bringing oppressive power to bear against those who keep the seventh-day Sabbath. The law of God, when this happened, to all intents and purposes be made void in our land, and national apostasy will be followed by national ruin. And that is exactly what that lady, one more time, called for: Sunday sacredness. Now let's play that clip where this lady again mentioned that in order for us to combat crime. Now when she said this in Arizona, they were debating a gun bill because of gun violence. And so she used the opportunity, or took the opportunity, to say the way we will combat crime, as they are saying, the way to combat immorality is to legislate morality, is to take the nation back to God. Now go ahead, play that clip.
Probably we should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend a church of their choice on Sunday.
That was Senator Sylvia Allen yesterday talking about the possibility of forcing people to attend church.
So just in case you missed what she said there, notice again, back to the screen. Again, it says Arizona. Senator Maul's bill to make Sunday church attendance mandatory. Arizona State Senator Sylvia Allen believes that America is in need of a moral rebirth and set a bill making it mandatory for Americans to attend a church of their choice every Sunday may not be such a bad idea. So once again, you have the right pushing for Sunday law, just like the left is pushing for it, but in a different way. It seems on the surface, one more time, that they are not in agreement, but the end result is the same. It still leads us to Rome. It still leads us to Sunday. Let's go back to the screen. The article goes on to say, as she was saying, listen again to the words. She says, probably we should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend a church of their choice. Notice now, on Sunday. Wait, she said a church of their choice, but it has to be on Sunday. So is that a choice? What if I choose Friday? What if I choose Saturday? What if I choose a different day? No, she says a church of their choice, but they have to go to church on Sunday. Let's continue. And then she says on Sunday to see if we can get back to having a quote-unquote moral rebirth. While she acknowledged that passing such a bill would never be allowed. Now keep in mind, this came out in 2015. While she acknowledged that passing such a bill would never be allowed, she remained firm that one of the problems being faced by society at present is the erosion of religion. It is the soul, she says, that is corrupt. And how we get back to a moral rebirth in this country, I don't know, since we are slowly eroding religion at every opportunity we have. And so therefore, the answer to gun control violence, or to gun violence, the answer to the rise of sodomy, the answer to other family problems is the legislation of Sunday law, making Sunday church attendance mandatory. Just like the left tells us, the answer to stop the viruses is Sunday sacredness. The answer to stop climate change is Sunday sacredness. The answer to stop the war is Sunday sacredness. And so now, as it was prophesied in Revelation chapter 13, the Bible says in Revelation chapter 13, verse 15, what the United States of America will do. Well, if we were to quote verse 12, and he caused the earth and all that dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. And then in verse 15 we read, and in verse 15 of Revelation chapter 13, and he causeth all, it says, verse 15, and he had power rather to give life unto the image of the beast. Church and state coming together, church and state. power, life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause force, that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So we have the image of the beast being erected by the left. Let's legislate morality. Let's enforce mandatory Sunday worship by law. Well, here is another article where the right is telling us how to worship. Listen now, the issue. From The Guardian, September 15, 2023. U.S. hard right policy group condemned for dehumanizing anti-LGBT plus rhetoric. Project 2025, which seeks to march into office with conservative army, accused of far-right desire to turn America back to the 20s. Now you have the left saying, look at what the far-right are trying to do in this coming election. As again, it says Project 25, Presidential Transition Project. Presidential Transition Project. In other words, as election is coming in America in 2024, and we are already in the election year, as the campaign have started already, the right, the far right, is getting ready to transition America away from the left and to the, I should say, to the extreme left, and now to the extreme right. And what does the extreme right call for? Well, let's get some more understanding. Next slide. Notice on the screen from MSNBC, September 8th, 2023, the Rights Project 2025 wants to make faith the government's job. A well-funded coalition wants to put the Bible ahead of the Constitution. Now, the question we may be asking, which Bible? Because there are many of them out there. Again, this is the far left now, saying, look at what the far right is doing. But in reality, they are both working for the same power. They are both working for the Pope of Rome. Listen now, go to the next slide. This says, from the People's World, September 15, 2023, Project 2025, the Republican blueprint to wage war on the what? On the environment. Insane, terrifying, a blueprint to destroy the planet. This is the left talking here. The plans eliminate and reverse the quote-unquote green energy transition, gut environmental protections, and hamper society's ability to deal with the rapidly growing climate crisis. MAGA, which means Make America Great Again, MAGA Republicans would forcibly implement the radical policy blueprint Project 2025 in the first 180 days of the new administration. One more time. This is called Project 2025. What is it about? Presidential Transition Project. The right now is saying that they are fed up. They have had enough with the far left. Now it's time to swing the country back to God. The pendulum, brothers and sisters, is swinging to the right. Remember, the conservative right already did away with abortion. The Supreme Court last year overturned Roe versus Wade.
Across the board, supportive of headline. Biden says he and the Pope are on the same page. Now, don't laugh as I read this. Let's see who is in charge. The Pope and I are on the same page. I laid out to the Pope what the game plan was, how we thought we should be providing the kind of assistance to Israel they needed. And the Pope was across the board supportive of what we are doing. Why would the American president have to share his goals, agenda with the Pope, Mr. Antichrist? Why? Who is in charge? Do you understand the script? Some people would say he's simply being cordial. What? Would he share his goals with Iran? No. With Afghan? Come on. With Cuba? With Russia? Listen to this. Do you understand the script?
Yes, you spoke to Pope Francis by phone yesterday.
I did.
How did that conversation impact you? What did you take away from that, the conversation with Pope Francis?
I'll answer just one question. The Pope and I are on the same page. He was very, very interested in what we were doing to deal with some of the crises that we're facing, particularly in Israel this time around. And I laid out to him what the game plan was, how we thought we should be providing the kind of assistance to Israel that needed. And the Pope was across the board supportive of what we're doing. Thank you.
What the game plan was? So we are sharing the secrecy, the intelligence of America with the Vatican? Because they're on the same team. The secular mind does not know what that means. But those who understand the prophetic script, Revelation 13, the beast and the image, yes, how they